All right, let's get started with 5.2, properties of parabolas. So what we're going to look at, first we're going to be able to graph them, and then we also need to be able to find the maximum and minimum values. So two specific things we're looking at here. You'll notice there's no new vocab, so everything that we're talking about we've talked about before, just two specific new things that we're looking for in terms of answers. All right, so some skills checks here, three different things. Let's go with the first one. Number one, find the y-intercept of the graph. The y-intercept on number one is 3. Y equals mx plus b, and so we're looking for b in this problem. So you do 2 and 3. Find the vertex of the graph. Number 4, remember our vertex is at negative b over m, so for 4y equals negative 2x plus 0, right? So on this one, our b is 0, our m is negative 2, so we'll have 0 divided by negative 2, which is just 0. And if we plug that back in, that's our x value. If we plug that back in, negative 2 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is still 0, so our y is also 0. So for 4, 0, comma 0 would be the vertex. And let's put it all together. Number 7, we'll graph 7. Negative 4x minus 3. We'll go down 3. 1, 2, 3. Make a dot. And from there, we'll go down 4 and over 1. 2, 3, 4. Over 1. Connect your lines, or connect your dots to make a line. And there we go. So there's the first one for each of those. And so make sure you can do the remaining problems on the skills checks to get us ready. All right, let's graph these parabolas here. So remember from before, the form for a parabola is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So the first type we're going to look at are going to be the slightly easier version where there is no b. B is 0. Right? We only have an a and a c. All right? So 3 steps to graph these things. 1, plot the vertex. Okay? So to plot the vertex, we're going to plug in 0 for x and c for y. All right? That's going to be your vertex. So in this problem, our vertex is 0, comma 2. We're going to get our graph going over here. 0, comma 2. So we'll go up 2 and make a dot. All right? Now, for part 2, so to do a parabola, you need 3 points. 3 points to make a nice curve. 5 if you're really being safe on these, but 3 is the minimum. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is pick a nice number for x. And a nice number for x, I think the number 2 is pretty nice, because up here, if I go 2 squared, I get 4. And then what's half of 4? Half of 4 is 2. So then it's negative 2. And 2 plus 2 is 0. So if I plug in 2 for x, I get 0 for y. And so that's going to go on my graph right here. And now here's the nice thing. Since I know a second point, I also know a third point. So step 3 is use symmetry to plot a third point. Here's what I mean by that. We know we have an axis of symmetry. We have, going through our vertex, a vertical line that's right in the middle. So we know that since this was 2 to the right, we're going to have another point, 2 to the left. So if we have 2 comma 0, we're also going to have negative 2 comma 0. Symmetric about the line of symmetry, the blue line there. Curve through your 3 dots, and there you go. There is your graph. All right, so see if you can do the same thing for understanding check number 1. All right, so what happens if b is not 0? So a couple things, couple pieces of information that we know here. First things first, if we look at the leading coefficient, a, and that is bigger than 0, it's a positive, the parabola is going to open up. If a is a negative, the parabola opens down. Okay? The axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a, which means that also at the vertex, okay, so for the vertex, the x value is negative b over 2a, and the y is whatever happens if you plug that x back in. That's what this means, the f of negative b over 2a. That means take whatever you get for x, plug it back in for y to find the vertex, okay? And the y-intercept is always at 0, comma c. So a lot of times that's going to be your second point, and we can find our third point using symmetry. Okay, so 0, comma c comes in very handy in a lot of these problems. So let's take a look. We've got x squared minus 2x minus 3. First things first, step 1, we're going to find the vertex. And so we say x equals negative b over 2a, which is negative 2 over 2. A is 1, right? So 1 is a, negative 2 is b, and c is negative 3. Let's clean this up. Negative 2 is 2, over 2 is 1. That's our x. We need to plug this back in. Y equals 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 3. So 1 squared is 1, minus 2 is negative 1, minus 3 is negative 4. So 1 comma negative 4 is on our graph. And there's our vertex right there. All right, now since we have a c, that's going to be our y-intercept. So our second point, if x is 0, y equals c. So if x is 0, y equals negative 3. So x is 0, y is negative 3 right there. Okay? And then last point, we use symmetry. Here's our vertex. So there's our line of symmetry. So the blue point is 1 to the right, to the left, sorry. So we need to go 1 to the right, same height, and we'll have our 3 points. Nice curve. Okay? It does say in the problem to label the vertex, so let's do that. The vertex is at 1 comma negative 4. The axis of symmetry is x equals 1. Okay? And while we're at it, let's label these other points. Doesn't ask for it, but it's good practice to do it. 0, negative 3, and 2, negative 3. Notice that the y values here are the same because we have symmetry. All right, your turn. Now see if you can do the exact same steps, 3 steps, for understanding check 2. Okay, let's talk about the minimum and the maximum values. So in this problem, I look at A. A is 3. That means that I have a graph that opens up. Okay? So I know that the vertex, since it opens up, the vertex is the bottom. We call that a minimum. So this problem has a minimum. It doesn't have a maximum because these lines go up forever. Okay? So you can't ever get to a maximum because it never stops going up. So let's find the minimum. We need to find the vertex. The vertex, we say x equals negative b over 2a. B is 12. A is 3. So that's negative 12 over 6, which is negative 2. So our vertex is at negative 2, comma. Now we've got to go back and plug this in. So 3, negative 2 squared, plus 12 times negative 2, plus 8. Negative 2 squared is 4 times 3 is 12, minus 24, plus 8. That's negative 12 plus 8. We're going to get negative 4. Okay? So our minimum value, let me write this in a sentence. The minimum is negative 4. Okay? The y value is the minimum because we're talking about the height. All right? So in this one, we want the y value. So don't say that the minimum is negative 2. It's not. It's the y value, negative 4. Find the minimum for the next equation there, and see if you can tell me what the maximum for that same function is for that understanding check. All right, last one. Let's do a word problem. Number of items a company sells frequently is a function of the item's price. The revenue from sales is the product of the price and the number sold. Refer to the photo. Uh-oh, I didn't put the photo in. Let me pause this. Hold on a second. All right, there we go. We've got our unicycles here, and our number that we sell is modeled by this right here, negative 2.5p plus 500. Okay, so the revenue, if we go back to the word problem, the revenue is the product, so we're going to multiply, of the price, okay, price times the number sold. And here's the number sold. So let's plug that in, negative 2.5p plus 500. All right, so if we distribute, we get negative 2.5p squared plus 500p. All right, and I'm going to put a plus 0 in on there just so we know that that's our C over there, right? We have our A, B, and C. And all right, we want to maximize our revenue here, so we need to find the vertex. Since A is negative, we know this is going down. Let's find the vertex. Negative B over 2A. 2 times 2.5 just happens to be 5, which works out nicely, because 500 divided by negative 5 comes out nice and pretty as 100. So 100 comma what? We want to find that maximum. Plug 100 back in. Negative 2.5, 100 squared, plus 500 times 100, and there's no C, so we're done there. 100 squared is 10,000, so negative 25,000. And over here we've got plus 5 times 1 is 5 with 4 zeros, so plus 50,000. That'll come out as 25,000. So if we sell 100 unicycles, we're going to make $25,000. Wow, a lot of money in the unicycle business here. Okay, and did I lose a 0? That seems a little large. Nope. Wow, unicycles really are pretty profitable apparently. In any case, here we go. Your try over here. Figure out if you can maximize revenue for the Woojit company. And if you have any questions, we'll go over it in class. That's it for 5-2.